Hi, it's Tarrant.
And Stella from Maple University.
Today we'll be teaching you how to play Eriantis, coming up. Let's learn to play Eriantis, game designed by Leo Colvini and published by Cranio Creations. This game is a re-implementation of the 2000 game Carolus Magnus.
And if you find value from this video later, please hit that like button. Subscribe to us and hit the bell and leave your feedback in the comments for others to find. For now, let's get to the table.
The 12 mystical floating islands of Eriantis are in need of reuniting. And the players representing the different magical schools will compete against each other to take control through this process. From their schools, players will send students out to the islands, hold students back to fight for the influence of the 5 professors, and will control the movement of Mother Nature around the board, aiming to claim control of the islands and unite them for their own benefits. The first player to get all of their towers onto the islands wins the game. Eriantis can be played competitively at either 2 or 3 players and can be played with 4 players in a 2 versus 2 team mode. There is also an advanced mode which adds some extra action cards into the game. In this video we'll be teaching you the rules through the 2-player version of the game and then going through the differences at 3 and 4 players and finally the advanced variant. To set up the game, lay out the 12 floating island boards, making sure there is a gap between each tile. Place the Mother Nature pawn onto any one of the tiles. Take 2 student discs of each colour, mix them up in a bag, and then place 1 student from that bag onto each of the island tiles, except for Mother Nature's tile and the one directly opposite. All remaining student tokens are now mixed up in the bag. Each player takes a player board, a set of 10 turn order cards which will have a matching back, and 8 towers in their colour, either black or white. Each player then draws 7 students at random from the bag and places them in the entrance hall to their school. Randomly choose a first player for the first round of the game. Keep the 5 hexagonal professor tokens and 2 of the cloud tokens set to the 2 and 4 player sides nearby ready for use, and you're ready to play. In Eriantis, the 2 players are racing to be the first to get their 8 towers out onto the floating islands. The first player to achieve this, or the player who has the most towers on the islands after 10 rounds, when the deck of turn order cards will be empty, wins the game. Each round plays in the following steps. First, new students are brought onto the cloud tiles ready for drafting later in the round. Then, players will conduct an open bid for this round's turn order. Then, in turn order, each player takes a turn which comprises 3 steps. Firstly, moving 3 students either into their dining halls to try to control the professors, or into Eriantis to try to control the islands. Then, move Mother Nature, resolving control and possibly placing towers at the destination island. And thirdly, drafting a new cloud of students to add to their entry hall. Once both players have taken a turn in this way, play passes to the next round. So now let's look at each phase in detail. The first step is filling the 2 cloud tiles, and this is done at random with students drawn from the bag. Each tile will have 3 students, and these will be randomly distributed among the 5 colours in the game. Next comes the turn order bid. In the first round of the game, this will start from the player who was randomly selected as first player, but in all subsequent rounds of the game, this will begin with the player who played the lower numbered card in the previous round. When a player bids, the player chooses any one card from those remaining in hand and then plays it face up onto the top of their discard pile. A player may not bid a card that is the same as one that another player has already bid earlier in the round. each card must be unique. The exception to this is if the player has no other options in hand. After both bids are made, the player who bid the lower number will go first in this round. If there did happen to be a tie, then the player who played the card first would go earlier in turn order. These cards range between 1 and 10, and each is single use in the game, so you need to make sure you're determining the right tactical times to use your lowest or highest numbers. Once turn order is determined, now it's time for each player to take a turn. The first step of your turn is to move students. You must move 3 students from your entrance to one of 2 locations. And you move these students one at a time and may split where you move them. The first option is to move a student to the leftmost open space of the matching coloured dining hall on your player board. After each movement is complete, check for control of the matching coloured professor. If you now have the most students of that colour in a dining hall, then you claim the matching coloured professor. If not, then the professor stays where it is. So here, adding 1 student to this dining hall does not result in a change of ownership, but adding a second student, like so, would result in the black player claiming the green professor. In the basic game, there is no other effect when moving a student. Ignore these coin icons, which are used in the advanced variant we'll discuss later. Your other option to move a student is to place it onto an island. You may place it onto any of the 12 islands without restriction, but there is no other immediate effect when you place a student on an island. Once you've moved 3 students, you must then move the Mother Nature pawn clockwise around the islands. The distance that Mother Nature moves is any number of spaces of your choice up to the number showing in the top right corner of your turn order card this round. Here, for example, you could move Mother Nature either 1 or 2 spaces around the board. The turn order cards are set up such that the earlier you go in turn order, the less flexibility you're going to have on Mother Nature's movement. For example, a 1 and a 2 only allows you to move 1 space, whereas a 9 or a 10 will let you move any number up to 5. Wherever Mother Nature finishes, you must now resolve control of that island. If the island has no towers, then each player's influence is equal to the number of students representing professors that player controls. Here, white controls the blue professor and has 2 influence, and black controls the green professor and has 1 influence. As such, white controls this island and places a tower onto it. If the influence values are tied, then neither player gets to place a tower. If the island being resolved already has a tower on it, then you will check to see whether the other player conquers that island or not. Calculate influence the same way, except any existing towers add an additional influence. So here, white still holds an influence advantage of 4 to 3 and therefore defends the island. The island is likewise defended if the influence count is even, and when the island is defended, the player's towers simply remain in place. No new towers are added. However, if the defending player now has a lower influence than the other, then the island is conquered. Any towers on it are returned to the owner and replaced with towers of the conquering player. After checking for control, it's now time to see whether any islands are unified, and this will occur for any adjacent island tiles containing the same colour of tower. Unified islands count as a single island for the rest of the game. So in this situation, Eriantis now contains only 11 islands. Mother Nature's next movement step will be directly to here, and all 8 students on these 2 islands will be considered part of the same influence battle next time Mother Nature lands there. Conquering a unified island can result in a very big swing in towers later in the game. Here, for example, white holds 6 influence with these students, and black holds 4 influence with these 2 students and the 2 towers. As such, white conquers the unified island, replacing both black towers with white towers, a 4-tower swing in one action. As the game progresses, islands will unify into even larger clusters containing even more towers, making such islands particularly decisive in the final battle. To finish off their turn, the player drafts one of the 2 clouds, taking the 3 students that are on it, and adding them to their entrance hall to return to 7 students. When a player places their 8th tower on the board, then the game ends immediately and that player is the winner. The game can also end in 2 other ways. Firstly, if Eriantis is reduced to 3 or fewer islands, or at the end of the 10th round, at which point no players will have any turn order cards remaining in hand. In these cases, whoever has the most towers on the islands is the winner. In the event of a tie, whoever controls the most professors breaks the tie. When playing with 3 players, Eriantis plays under much the same rules, but with different numbers of pieces involved in the game. You will be playing black versus white versus grey, and each player will start with 6 towers instead of 8. Each player will also start with 9 students in their entrance instead of 7. On each turn, players will draft turn order as usual, but then on their turn, a player will move 4 students to their dining room or island instead of 3. They'll then replenish those 4 students from the 3-player side of the cloud tiles. Players will still hold a hand of 10 turn order cards, but the game will end after 8 rounds, which is the round in which there won't be enough students left in the bag to refill the cloud tiles. The 4-player game is a 2 versus 2 team game, and once again it will be black versus white, with each side trying to place 8 towers. The towers are shared between teammates with free access, so it doesn't matter whose player board they sit on. And each player now is once again back to having only 7 students in their entrance, and 3 on each cloud. In this team game, you are still competing individually to control the professors. So for example, if this player played this student here, although the white team now has more blue students than the black team, this black player still controls the most blue students and therefore the blue professor. But when an island is being resolved, then the 2 teammates will pool their professors together. So here for example, 4 influence to black being enough to conquer 3 from white. Players may decide at the start of a team game how much table talk they're willing to allow between teammates. Finally, the expert variant of the game introduces the character cards and the coins. To set up, deal out 3 character cards face up for all players to see and give each player 1 coin. Players will gain an additional coin each time they cover a coin icon in their dining hall. Once per turn, a player may pay for one of these characters, spending the cost in the top left corner in order to utilise its game-breaking effect. Here for example, you could pay 1 coin to get an extra 2 movement range on Mother Nature, or here you could pay 3 coins in order to resolve an island as if Mother Nature were there, in addition to the normal Mother Nature movement. I won't go through all of these effects, I'll leave you to read them from the rulebook. The first time someone pays a cost for one of the characters, place one of the coins that's paid onto the character card. The cost for any player to use this character from this point forward in the game is increased by 1. This only happens once per game, so on subsequent uses no further coins are added. The game comes with a total of 12 different characters, which, if you use them most strategically, can really swing the game in your favour. And that's how to play Eriantis. We hope that you enjoyed this video. We do have a review video as well for Eriantis, and we'll put a link to that in the description below.
And if you enjoyed this video, please help us by hitting the like button. Subscribe to us. You can also hit the meeple in the corner to do so, and hit the bell so you'll be one of the first to know when we have new and exciting videos. You can also follow me on Instagram for my board games journey.
And if you have any questions, comments or feedback, please leave them in the comment section below.
See you next time.